This episode of Raw Green is brought to you by OBI, a sustainability consultancy firm specialized in life cycle assessment and decarbonization strategies. At OBI, we've designed our new Chief Sustainability Officer package to empower SMEs with comprehensive ESG solutions at a fraction of the cost compared to traditional solutions. Our entry package includes a full ESG report covering scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, a tailored emission reduction strategy, access to GRI certified software, and more. What sets us apart? Affordability. Our goal is to make sustainability accessible to businesses of all sizes. Contact us for a free consultation at info@oneob.com or through the links provided in the description. And now, get ready for the next episode of Raw Green. Ciao! 39%. That is the share of global greenhouse gas emissions coming from the real estate market, divided in 28% from the operation of the buildings and 11% from the materials, such as heavy heaters, cement, and steel. Reducing these emissions is not just a good idea, it is a crucial step we need to take. In the past 5 years, investments in technologies aimed at reducing emissions from real estate have boomed. This includes innovation in green steel and cement, as well as monitoring and reporting systems powered by AI, smart lighting and sockets, heat pumps, high reflective paint, and more. Still, according to a Van Lascott research study conducted in 2023, only 15% of listed real estate companies worldwide have set clear and externally verified net zero targets that includes scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. Shockingly, 50% have made no commitments or statements regarding their greenhouse gas reduction targets. Why is this the case? Isn't an efficient and sustainable property inherently more valuable? Today, we're going to answer some of these questions, and we're honored to host a guest who has been integrating sustainability into investment strategies and approaches for years. He is a veteran real estate investor, a board member at Coramco Real Estate, and the co founder of Reimagining Cities Foundation. Mr. Chungha Cha, welcome.
Thank you very much, Francesco.
Welcome. Happy to have you
So glad
here.
to be here and yeah, I'm very looking forward to our conversation. You had a great
Nice.
intro there.
You liked
Mm,
it? Okay, that's a good start.
yeah, yes, right on the
Good,
mark. Yeah.
good. All right, then let me ask you, in your opinion, what are the most pressing sustainability challenges that the real estate industry it is facing today, and how they can be addressed?
Mm. Well, that's a good question. I've been in this space for maybe 15 years now, and it seems as if the biggest hurdle is the perceived cost premium of sustainable real estate. So if you do things sustainable in real estate, it's going to cost more. And
Hmm.
so many investors and developers, if they're not required by law to do it, they're they don't really want to do it because it's bringing down their investment returns.
Hmm.
So I think that's the main obstacle. Number two, it's kind of related, which is the lack of knowledge of what things to do to bring your buildings closer to that net zero target that we want to get to. But even taking those for easy first steps, I'm finding out that most of the real estate companies that I'm speaking with, and they're global, very large organizations, they don't really know, right?
They
So
don't
those
know.
two are the biggest two obstacles. Well, when they say, "Oh, we have to get to net zero by
Mm,
2050," "Oh, we have
okay.
to, get our buildings energy efficient. We need to reduce our, carbon emissions." Many don't even know the difference between scope one, two, and three emissions, right?
Okay.
There are a
Okay.
few leaders who do, and they are acting upon, the carbon neutral pathways. But like you said in the introduction, the majority of the property companies, they don't have any targets. They don't, they just don't know. That's the big problem.
But I mean, I am in the mindset that number talks, bullshit walks. Okay, just to be very clear.
Hmm. Yeah,
If
yeah.
if there are tons of cases that with numbers are going to explain the added values that by investing into sustainability related projects or integrating sustainability into real estate, the returns are consistently higher. Isn't that enough?
Well, I'm not quite sure those case studies are comprehensive enough.
Okay.
Um, I'm always looking for those case studies where we are linking ESG or sustainability to enhanced financial performance. That's the area that I focus on. How do you link sustainability to the money?
Okay.
But when you say there are a lot of case studies, mm, I started to go into some of these databases, and I just can't get the metrics where a financial guy can say, "Oh, I now understand. I believe this can happen." Right? A lot of the finance guys are very skeptical. I'll give you an example. Right?
Please.
Um, the green buildings, they're supposed to equate to energy efficient, low carbon buildings, LEED certification. And many of their publications for decades have been saying green buildings, you can get higher rents, you can they sell for higher prices, and they have faster lease ups, meaning you can attract tenants much faster.
Mm,
So when you go into these cases, well, what are they comparing higher rents to of this green, LEED gold or LEED platinum buildings has higher rents? What are the buildings that they are comparing it to? And they're not apples to apples, right?
okay.
So
Okay.
the naysayers or many of the property companies who just don't want to deal with this issue just say, "Hey, you can't prove to me you get higher rents, right?"
Okay.
So that's the problem. Architects and engineers would give me tons of examples that prove the business case, and I'm trying to link that to making sense to CFOs. And in many cases, I cannot make that link. And I'm trying to make that link, right?
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That
So
that
when you say
that
there's thousands of examples out there, let's check them one by one, right?
well,
Just give
yes.
me, one or two that you think it improves the business case.
Well, more than happy to. And
Hmm.
it is a mindset that needs to click in. It is yes, the numbers are the one that rules above everything
Hmm.
on the
Hmm.
feasibility, the integration of sustainability
Yeah.
inside that project, together with let's say the adoption of the technology. Sorry. Uh, Now the premium you were mentioning before, it is a premium due to the high cost of sustainability technology. And I can give you an example: ESG softwares. ESG softwares. There is now a very broad variety of ESG softwares. Some that they cost very little, some that they cost ridiculous amount of money per year.
mm,
Plus, you have to add the staff cost or the consultant cost to run those reports. So but it is a learning curve, and the more that there is adoption, the more the costs are
mm,
going to reduce, the more it is going to make sense to integrate even more sustainability into real estate propositions and projects. So what is you were saying that you're trying to explain to CFOs the benefits and to create that
mm.
link. What is their
Yes.
main skepticism and resistance? Because in the eyes of the
Mm,
public, it is also a very important thing. Now imagine a ton of startups that they want to start a business. They start the business with sustainability already embedded into their company,
okay.
okay, into their mission.
Mm,
So having at disposal a property that follows their same mentality and mission, it is important. So what is the resistance and the
mm,
skepticism that you face the most?
mm. Well, again, it's the same. It's the money and lack
Money.
of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me take a step back, and explain to you where I'm coming from. Okay,
Yeah,
my
please.
experience in this world of sustainability. So my background is 20 years finance. So, I can understand the language of what these CFOs are thinking in their minds, right? And about 15 years ago, I kind of got sick of finance. And then I kind of ventured into this world of climate change. And it intrigued me, this Kyoto Protocol. I didn't even know what it was, right? I was too busy just focused on making money because I'm working in a financial institution. It's always money, 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 right?
Mm-mm-mm.
But then I started to say, I want to learn more about this. I left finance and I started to travel to all these conferences all over the world. So, conferences on climate change, conferences on um, renewable energy, conferences on smart cities, resilient cities, carbon trading, um, prop tech, all right, and green building conferences. And I wanted to not as I learned, I wanted to start speaking at these conferences. So I was trying, I got on the speaking circuit. And then someone said, "Hey, Cha, you should be talking to people in the real estate conferences, right? Because when you look at climate change, to simplify things, about a third, you said 38%, but I just say a third of the global emissions, global greenhouse gas emissions, come from real estate, where it comes for a third comes from transportation,
Mm-hmm.
and another third comes from industry, like making steel and making cement, things like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to speak at MIPIM conferences, Perry conferences. I think that's where I first met you in Hong
Yeah.
Kong at one of the Perry private equity real estate conferences. And now these days I'm very active with the Urban Land Institute, ULI.
Okay.
And ULI's one of their global mission priorities, and they are a global organization of the biggest real estate developers and investors in the world, right? Brookfield,
Mm-hmm.
BlackRock, uh, Blackstone, Heinz, CDL, you know, all throughout the world. So one of their global mission priorities is net zero and decarbonization. They only have three global mission priorities, and one of them is net zero and decarbonization. So I'm very active here because I get to work with some of the leading um, real estate companies who do want to embrace sustainability. right?
Mm.
And they are linking it to financial benefits. So um, I'm very encouraged by the fact that there are some leading companies leading the charge. It's not
Okay.
easy,
No.
right? But then you have 90% of the real estate industry who are not doing it. They're not interested or they don't know. They may be interested, but they don't know how to take the first steps. So
Okay.
that's why I'm very
That's very
active
true.
with ULI and trying to kind of do workshops with these companies to show them the first easy steps to take, right?
Which is,
And
in your opinion,
so, uh,
what is
well, I look at the real estate
easy
world.
first step?
Easy steps are number one is you have your existing buildings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm working with Caramco. That's where I serve as on the board of directors. So I'm trying to create a live, real case with real numbers. We got 50 buildings. Um,
Okay.
they're very large, Class A office buildings, some logistics, some retail, and 50 buildings is only part of their portfolio. And I said, look, that saying where if you want to manage it, you have to measure it. So we want to drive down energy and carbon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we started to collect monthly data on the energy usage of these 50 buildings. And when we started to get 2 years data, we said, hey, we can see some trends. Let's try to set targets for 2023. This was a year ago, and reduce the energy. And so
Okay.
they made a concerted effort to turn out down, turn out lights, right? Um, Adjust set points. There wasn't any major investments in getting new boilers and new, chillers and making major renovations. This is just operational things, right?
Okay.
When to turn off your air conditioner in the summer? What time of the evening do you turn it off? What time do you turn it on? Um, just a lot of operational things.
Optimizing.
When you go down
Yeah.
into the basement, yeah, yeah. When you go down into the basement of large buildings, there's these huge rooms with, the machinery there, the chillers, the electrical equipment, and in some places the lights are constantly on, right?
For no
And why not
reasons.
just
Yeah.
shut them off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So just getting people aware of some of these very small things that we could do. What happened at Caranco with these 50 buildings, we reduced 3% energy in 1 year.
Wow.
But then we calculated how much that 3% um, equates to money.
Mm.
And that money was about, about $1.5 million per year. This
Nice.
is annual savings.
Yeah.
And then if you use that savings and you say, well, this is how much our annual income or annual profit has increased, that means the real estate value of those 50 buildings increased about 30, $35 million,
Wow.
right?
By just
Yeah.
optimizing
So if
that.
you sell it, you
Yeah.
can get, if you're going to sell it, you're going to get that much more money. And if you're not going to sell it, you can go to the bank and say, hey, let's get a real estate appraisal report,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'll be $35 million more. So
Yeah.
you can negotiate better loans, reduce the interest rate a little bit, or just
Yeah.
negotiate more favorable loans, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So
But isn't this a
that's,
perfect case
yeah,
study? Isn't this a perfect case study?
it is.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
is manual.
I
Uh,
think so. Yes.
that is
So it's
manual.
not
No
about the
heavy
fancy
investment.
sensors, right?
Exactly. No refitting, no restructuring. You just have to be a little bit more conscious on how you optimize, turning on the lights, managing the AC. So, and by just doing that, that brought to
Right.
you a 35 million
Hmm.
added. to your
Right.
evaluation, which is fantastic.
So now this year we're trying to reduce it another 4% on top of that. So we created
Okay.
additional reductions, right? I think last year we only was able to target 3% because I think they didn't really know, right? And many
Hmm.
people didn't think it was really worth it, you know? They didn't
Yeah.
understand the significance of saving $10,000 here, $20,000 here, $5,000 here. But when you add it all up,
Altogether,
it,
yes.
it turned, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a
So
crunchy
I like to
sum. Yes.
encourage, yeah, yeah. I like to encourage owners of real estate that they can contribute to not only helping to fight climate change by reducing carbon emissions, right? The
Mm.
less energy
Yeah.
used, the less coal they're going to burn to make
Yeah.
electricity to feed your air conditioners, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
less gas that you use to heat up your buildings. So when you use less energy, you are helping to drive down greenhouse gas emissions,
Have
right?
you? Do you have a rough figure of what was the carbon savings by just reducing the energy consumption of 3%?
No, no, I we that figure I don't have on the top of my head. How many CO2 tons equivalent that we saved. Um, for me, the CFO or the CEO, who's primarily driven by financial goals, right? To say that we saved 10,000 tons of carbon or 1 million tons of carbon, I don't think they can feel the difference of
Mm.
what. So what is that? What does that mean? But when I say that you just increased your real estate values by $35 million, and this year we're going to try to
Yeah,
increase value an additional $40 million, then they go, "Oh,
I like
how are
that.
we doing this? How are we, right?" And they're encouraged to check every month to say, "Are we on track? Are we?" So you have to speak the language of the dollars and cents, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To say
Understandable.
that, oh, we saved uh, X metric tons, X million tons of carbon equivalent. It's important metric, but I don't have
Yeah,
that
it is
metric
very
on the top of my head.
important. It is very important.
Hmm.
When we talk to clients or prospective clients about the environmental quantification of their emissions, it is,
Hmm.
yes, I agree with you. It is, you have to make it easy to understand and
Hmm.
put it into their language,
Hmm.
to make in front of their eyes the quantification of the benefits. It is not an easy
Hmm.
part. Let's not forget that, uh, yes, climate change has been on researches and papers of the academic world for 30 plus years.
Yes,
But in
yes.
the eyes of the public, it is something that it is still pretty new, and it happens that when I talk to people and I mention ESG, several people don't know still what ESG means, which is fine. Nobody has to know everything, but again, it is
Hmm.
something that there is a lot of work to do, and to let people know the subject, what can be
Hmm.
done, what are the consequences of that, even though obviously the press, it is pushing a lot more onto this. Look, Mr. Cha, I wanted to ask you something before. You were mentioning the certifications, and you were talking about
Hmm.
the lead gold, lead platinum. Uh, Besides being extremely recognizable certification, okay, uh, are they worth? Do they are they a valuable instrument from an investor perspective into the evaluation of the building?
I'm not very fond of certifications. So
Okay.
I'm a little bit biased. Having
Okay.
said that, I think the green building certifications that exist in the world, and there are many, I think there are maybe almost 100 green building certifications around the world. Every country has their own, right? So the US is pushing LEED, you have BREEAM in the UK, you have CASB in Japan, we have GSEED in Korea, etc. Green Mark in Australia, all over the place. Every
Yeah.
country has to have their own. And I think it's good in the sense that it sets a framework of points that you need to check off, right? To get a certain number of points. And if you get, 60 points, you'll get just certified. But get 10 more, you'll get silver. Get 10 more on top of that, you'll get gold. And if you get 80 points or more, you get the platinum, right? Or in some areas they'll go by stars, 4 star or
Mm.
5 star, whatever. So I think it's good in the sense that architects, engineers, the contractors, they're kind of understand the framework and they're on the same page. Okay, so in that sense, it's good. But since LEED came into existence, what, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I don't even know. But if you look at the total number of LEED buildings in the world, I don't, a couple of 100,000 maybe,
Okay.
right? So yeah, they're big, usually big buildings. But anyway, I think it's not impacting the compared to the building stock of the world, right?
But
Um,
if you have to
I
if
don't
you have to
like it
put,
because.
yeah.
Hmm.
No, no, go on, go on.
Okay. I don't like it because getting a lead sometimes is not the same as having an energy efficient building, right?
Mm.
So that's the main reason I don't like it.
And so what do you do it
Um,
for? I mean, if you have two exact buildings in front of you,
mhm,
one with the exact same specs, okay, one
mhm,
with the lead certification and one without the lead certification,
mhm.
how different
Right.
would be the valuation? Would there be any added value into that or not?
Oh, that's a great, great question. Right now, there is no difference just because it has a green building certification. However,
Wow,
and this
really?
is a very interesting point. However, yeah, we just RICS, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, they are starting to look at green buildings from the point of view that it should command higher valuations. And I think that is one of the key milestones that we could achieve that will enable the investors
In
to
transition
spend
adoption.
more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
they'll be
totally.
willing to spend more because it's valued more. Yeah, that's
That
going to be
actually,
one of the keys.
yeah, yeah, that is actually could open the bottleneck that you were saying to the into the adoption, and to build
Yeah.
more cases to showcase
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
benefits. Look, I
Yeah.
certification are important, very important. On the other
Mhm.
hand, it is important to study the certification, in the background,
Mhm.
okay, what's underneath the certification and what it is, the methodology of the certification.
Well,
There is
also certifications are voluntary in many cases, right?
yes, totally.
So
And on
it's not
sustainability and carbon,
required.
it's plenty
Mm-mm.
now of
Yeah.
CO2, carbon neutral, and whatnot. But when you go to
Well,
see the methodology underneath, it is, we
mhm.
say, fried air. It's nothing.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Well, it's encouraging. After we had this proliferation of green building certifications, we there's another realm of reporting, global ESG reporting requirements that are, it first started as guidelines or frameworks,
Mm,
right? Um, like GRI, the Carbon Disclosure Project, which is CDP, where companies are reporting their impact toward climate change. But some of these ESG reporting requirements are now becoming law, right?
hmm.
So
Yeah.
now it's becoming not just voluntary thing that you would do, but it's required by law. Just like if you're a company, you have to publish your annual reports on your financial statements, including sustainability metrics and reporting scope one, two, and three
Hmm.
is going to be required by law.
Yeah.
So scope one and two is a little bit easier. So they're going to require that from like 2025, 2026. And then a couple of years after that, they will start to require scope three, which is embodied carbon. And that's a little bit more difficult to keep track of, right?
Yeah. It is. That is the toughest part.
But
But
it's definitely
those are
these
90%
global,
of the
yeah,
emissions. Those are ninety
yeah.
percent
But these
scope three
global
emissions.
requirements are, as they become law, especially Europe is leading on that front with their, what do they call it, the CSRD, I believe.
CSRD, the CSRD. Yes.
Yeah, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive came into force on January 2023, and so large companies, they have to report this year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or 20, I forget, 2025. But anyway, very very soon, and that is impacting the world, right? For example, Korean companies. Korea has really no teeth in its requirements to report sustainability metrics or have green buildings here in Korea, right? They're all kind of voluntary things. You
Why is
can do
that?
it, you don't
Yeah.
have to. I'll just be frank and say that's a lack of leadership, okay,
Okay.
in
Okay.
our Korean
Okay.
government. Right.
That
Sorry,
was
guys. I know
clear and
some of my
simple.
friends are sitting in the government, but hey, on the sustainability front, Korea is way on the bottom. Okay. But
Well,
anyway,
it's gonna
the
come
point
there
I
too.
wanted to make is because of the leadership in Europe, the CSRD, because some of our companies like Hyundai, cars, selling cars there, LG selling TVs
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We have operating companies and factories there. So these Korean companies, they have to also comply to these
Yeah.
new sustainability reporting requirements. So they are working by hiring consultants like KPMG and these global companies to help them. Wow, I have to start counting my carbon in my value chain, right?
Yeah.
My supply chain.
Yeah.
So they're starting to get on top of that. Right? So
Well,
that's a good thing, I
it is
think.
very complicated also for high tech car manufacturing. The supply chain emissions. The biggest
Mm-hmm.
job in the supply chain emission it is to have on board your suppliers. That's it. That it
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest job to get your suppliers to provide to you the data necessary to prepare your report and quantify your emissions. Okay.
Yeah.
But they are not obliged, so then you enter into a realm of doubt. Say, how accurate are going to be these numbers? Say that it's not, they're not obliged
Right.
to, they're just doing to make that big client happy. But and there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
also that psychological fear to say, hey, if I have to disclose now this number, if I disclose these numbers now, maybe I am too high with the emissions and I'm going to lose the contract or something. I'm going to be
Right, right,
downgraded
absolutely.
into the list. So the communication that a big corporation need to have with their suppliers
Mm,
has to be crystal clear, has to be very
yes.
direct. Say it is a journey that we're doing together
Mm,
from now
mm,
for the
mm,
next
mm, mm.
10, 20, 50 years. It is not
Right, right.
there is no scoring at the moment. Then obviously the scoring part will come because these big companies, they have to reduce their emissions, and if 90% are coming from their supply chain, obviously their suppliers play a very important part. So
Yes, you're
it is
absolutely
that
right. Yeah, yeah.
it is a job that you do together. It is not I give you the data and then you plug it in into the report, and then you're going to prepare a very nice fancy report of
Mm-mm.
200 pages to be
Right.
published.
Well, what's
It
very
is
interesting is that you're absolutely correct, but what's also very interesting is these global reporting requirements. They're starting to require third-party verification,
yes,
right? So
makes
these
sense.
companies and all the companies in the supply chain, they're going to have to hire an independent,
Auditor,
objective
yeah,
company
yeah,
to, yeah, an audit. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think we're rapidly going in the right direction. Finally, right?
Yes. It takes time. It takes time. It is, let's not
Mm,
forget, it is a massive cost. I was reading an article a few days ago on how much big corporations
mm,
pays to have their ESG report
mm.
done, and there are a lot of zeros over there, and not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everybody can afford that. So it is a massive cost,
Mhm.
and again, it is something new. What
Can I
if you put together,
can I say
please?
I wanted to share you with one other takeaway from my experience in this space. Um, Sustainability is a big word, right?
Yeah.
And I'm finding that many people get bogged down by trying um, to define what is sustainability. And some people would even say, hey, Chai, it's not sustainability, it's resilience. Resilience is more important, right?
Okay.
And then,
What do you mean by
someone will
resilience?
come up with another variation. I don't know. I don't really like to try to define something which is like massive, like sustainability. But um, taking one step back, why I'm in this space and why I like to focus on the real estate sector is the UN came up with the fact that our population is growing very, very fast. And at the same time, everyone wants to move into the cities. They call it rapid urbanization, meaning people who are living in the countryside, they want to move into the city to get a better job or get a better education and get a better place to live and raise a family, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So that rate of rapid urbanization is 1.5 million people move into the cities every week. Could you imagine one and a
Wow.
half million people moving into cities every week,
Madness.
right?
Madness.
All of these people, they need a place to work, they need a place to live, they need energy, they need air conditioning, they need heating, right?
Yeah. Then
They
waste
need
management.
food,
Yes.
they need water, waste management, the traffic congestion of people coming to and from work.
Yeah.
So it's putting a massive strain on the infrastructure of cities, right?
Yeah.
So then that it makes issues related to climate change more challenging, right?
Yeah. Very.
So it's this vicious cycle of, what are we going to be doing to help these people move into the cities and and have a fulfilling quality life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I like sustainability, and I like the definition of sustainability in that it's about the three pillars of sustainability:
Mm.
people, right? Social sustainability,
Yeah.
um, environmental sustainability,
Yeah. Planet.
and
Yeah.
economic sustainability. Those three things, social, environmental, and economic, those three pillars must exist in order for us to live our lives into the future without depleting the irreplaceable resources that we have on our planet,
That's but
right?
defined by the UN as the principle of sustainable development. So without harming future
Yes,
generations. Yes,
yes,
it
yes,
is.
yes.
It is. It is.
So
It is
when,
beautiful to put all three together.
yeah. So now let's bring it into the real estate world because some people don't connect that. So we're building um, 90 billion square meters of buildings over the next 20 years.
Oh,
What does that
okay.
mean? 90 billion square meters. Some people say it's the size of London that we need to build every month. The size of London buildings every month, right? And 52% of that will be in Asia, China,
Wow.
India, and the rest of Asia, right? But the bulk is China and India. Some Korea, Singapore, a little bit. You've got
Yeah.
Indonesia, et cetera, et cetera, et
Vietnam,
cetera, right?
Thailand. Yeah. Indonesia. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we've got all this new buildings to build. Now, before I said, let's link how we can do sustainability and link it to the business case in existing buildings. Now, the other major piece is new buildings, right? New
Yeah.
construction, right? To build that London every month, right?
Madness.
And if we build the way that we are building in the future, in the past, we're going to
You
lock
can't go
ourselves
on.
into these inefficient buildings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the journey I'm on in terms of how can we get our large real estate developers of large mixed use developments to build sustainably, addressing people, planet, and prosperity. Right.
Isn't it
So
ironic to
people, I was
you?
thinking, I was making.
Isn't that ironic to you
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
when you think about real estate investment, you think about investments that they have kind of a long time horizon, a kind of a long duration. Isn't that ironic to you that the majority of the people do not think about how the world will be in 30 years, in 50 years, with all the climate change that has been repeatedly put on the press? That they don't factor that to prepare that building to be ready, not as of now, but in 30 years or in 50 years.
Not many people can think that far out, and I think it's because we have too many problems in our lives, issues in our lives that we have to manage, and they have short fuses,
Mm, mm,
right? Some are like, how do I get food on my table tomorrow, right? How do I pay
yeah,
my, heating bills end of the month,
yeah,
right? To more, day to day. Oh, my boss is on my back. I can't believe. We have a lot of problems. Our our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our wives, our husbands, our children, our jobs, right? Our our mothers, our fathers, our,
yeah,
we have a lot of things, and
yeah,
so you have to be able to have that all under control in order to start thinking a little bit longer term,
yeah.
right?
what what
And
what
not many
advice
people have that.
but what advice would you give I mean, to aspiring real estate investor and developers that they starting now their journey, what would you suggest them
Mm.
to incorporate sustainability into their projects? Because
All
okay,
right.
let's say that you have the old generation of real estate investors that they don't think about it, they still haven't grasped the benefits, waiting to be backed up by numbers or not. So what would you
Mm.
suggest to a guy that is
Well, real
listening
estate.
now,
Yeah,
how to start?
I always like to say that in this area, in this realm, we have to build three things. We have to build awareness, right?
That's a good one.
Why do we need to do these things, right? And any person needs to be convinced why, right? Why do I have to do this? So when we understand that it's a good thing to do, right, to save the planet or
Yeah,
make a little extra money, what? Because I'm trying to link the two, that you can save the planet as well make more money.
yeah,
Um, so build awareness. The second thing is build capabilities. So if you have no knowledge, right, then you have to acquire some capability or get a team of people who have those capabilities. And the last thing that we need to build is with the awareness and capabilities, we build actual projects, right? So, me, I want to try to um, launch 10 huge multi-billion-dollar net zero sustainable communities in cities across Asia, right?
okay, yeah,
So my simple answer to do that is I'm doing that not to make money, but I'm doing that to through ULI, Urban Land Institute, Asia Pacific.
mm-hmm.
And we have this net zero compendium. We have ULI Greenprint, which is 16,000 properties worth
Okay,
a valuation of $2 trillion. They all are aspiring to be 50% reduction of carbon by 2030
okay, it's
and
ambitious.
carbon neutral by 2050.
Mm.
So we do have a community of experts, practitioners, global investors within ULI. And I'm very active with ULI as one of the global governing trustees of ULI. But
Okay,
I'm focused very much on net zero and Asia Pacific. So I would encourage you, anyone who wants to learn more, join ULI. And I'm available, if they have any specific questions, right? We can get on a Zoom for 20, 30 minutes or more, or if they have, you know, workshops that, I can help along. But check out ULI. There's a net zero compendium
okay,
piece of that, or ULI Greenprint. Those are two great areas to start learning.
wonderful.
10 years ago, I didn't really know anything about this space, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I read up every morning for 15, 20 minutes. I have email alerts about green buildings, about sustainability, about climate change, And when you do that just for, half an hour every day, you start
Yeah,
to get to
yeah,
know the
get to know the
space.
stuff. Yeah,
So that,
you get to know the stuff. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
wonderful. Well,
And you
Mr.
meet a lot
Cha,
of people and you have debates. Yeah, yeah.
but and that's actually even better when you have a debate that you get to know
Hmm.
also what other people thinks. Mr. Cha, thank you very much for your time. This was great. Appreciated you sharing your knowledge onto this. Let's hope. Let's end up on a positive note that the awareness as a first step will snowball into more adoption and let's say, that's going to help the real estate sector to accelerate their decarbonization
Oh,
journey.
yes. Oh, I'm
Okay.
very hopeful. I think yeah, over the last 2, 3 years, there's been a lot of growing awareness and building capabilities. And now I'm just trying to accelerate getting projects, up and running, and they become showcase projects, and we can share each other with each other and cross
Yeah.
fertilize.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important. Thank you, Mr. Cha.
Mm.
I'll catch you up soon.
Yeah, nice to speak to you, Francesco.
N- Ciao. Take care.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Raw Green, brought to you by Obi. At Obi, we have designed our new Chief Sustainability Officer package to empower SMEs with comprehensive ESG solutions at a fraction of the cost compared to traditional solutions. Our entry package includes a full ESG report covering Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, a tailored emission reduction strategy, access to GRI certified software, and more. What sets us apart? Affordability. Our goal is to make sustainability accessible to businesses of all sizes. Contact us for a free consultation at info@oneob.com or through the links provided in the description. See you at the next episode. Ciao.